So 1973, 2023. After 50 years, and since 1995, with the release of these new Frankenstein singles of the time, at the time of the anthology, finishing up John Lennon's Free as a Bird and Real Love, we're getting now and then another unfinished song that was kind of started in 1995 and finally finished. It's coming out. It's announced today. The Red, the Blue, the Beatles versus the Stones again. Okay, we got the Red and the Blue album. Those came out in 1973. That's the first time really there was any kind of repackaged greatest hits. Sure, in the UK there was a Beatles oldie for a Christmas, filling in a Christmas void, but there was no greatest hits, no best of type anthologies. And who do we have to thank for that? None other than the infamous, the infamous Rolling Stone ABCO manager of the century, tongue-in-cheek, Alan Klein. Alan Klein was about to get fired from the Beatles, but he actually helped the Beatles. And in 1971, he compiled Hot Rocks for the Rolling Stones. And it's an amazing, one of the biggest Stones albums to date, sales-wise, in 1971. The end of 1971 came out this great double album, a great overview of Stones hits. And of course, this, as sold on TV, now you can get the best of the Beatles in these two Volume 1 and Volume 2 Omega stereos. These were sold literally on television until the whole cease and desist happened. And because of Alan Klein and his brainchild, in 1973, we got the Red, 1962 to 1966, and the Blue album, 1967 and 1970. These were huge hits. This is like, 3 years after the Beatles split up, and Alan Klein puts these together. He compiles these. What a brilliant thing. No George Harrison songs here, but of course we knew this great cover photograph at Manchester Square EMI House, taken by Angus McBean. It graced the cover of Please Please Me. And then in 1969, he came back and took a picture of them again at EMI House. Was going to be used on the Get Back album. Was never used until the recent reissues. Bootlegs came out with it, and it came out during the Let It Be Get Back reissues. But they used it here and alternated. And this was a great double cool-ass collections in 1973. And of course, if you talk to people younger than me, the next generation or the next round of Beatle people that started buying their records in the early 70s, mid 70s, to a lot of people, this was their first introduction to the Beatles. These were the first albums that they had in their collection. So these are very important albums. And now, 50 years later, we're getting, and I'm going to get there, don't worry, you're going to see more or less what's coming out. The cash grab that's coming out, I've been reading. Cash grab, cash grab, cash grab. Now, I want to tell you something. Cash grab, to me, that's a whole BS thing, cash grab. I don't know any country that mandates that you buy a Beatle record, a Rolling Stones record, any reissue, multicolor variants, different packages, different cover variants. You don't have to buy them all, or any of them, in fact. Talk about timing. We just got a brand new Rolling Stones record, and possibly the Beatles and the Stones are going to have some little competition, little butting heads again. We're going to get that Beatles versus Stones thing. So we're finally going to get, coming out next month, a new Beatle song, a new compilation, updated versions of 1962 to 66 and 1967 to 1970. The countdown has begun. The clock is ticking. Now, the cassette, this is sort of a representation of the demo cassette John Lennon put together, recorded his Now and Then song that the Beatles finished off, worked on in 1994, 95 actually, for the anthology, and discarded it and finished it up recently. And that's what we're getting on these Red and Blue. So the countdown begins. Let's take a look at a little preview. There was a few little signposts, this projection in Liverpool and throughout Liverpool, the cassette projected Matthew Street, the cavern. I'm not sure if it's painted or projected. Things like this, a clue for you all. The cassette was not Paul. The actual single, Now and Then. What do you think of this cover? Probably various color formats. This is blue, and there's going to be, I'm sure, various color formats. I don't know if that's going to be issued separately, a 12-inch, 7-inch, with the box, without a box. But the artwork, okay, let's talk about the artwork a little bit. I like this modern artist. This is Ed Ruscha. Ed Ruscha, you may know, he did the cover for McCartney 3. He's a painter. He has a real graphic style, very simplistic. Those of you who are not into modern art may not grasp onto it. These are some of his pieces, Ed Ruscha's pieces. You get the idea, a lot of typeface. He's also done paintings of like gas station signs at night and environmental things, but it's a very graphic style that is kind of interesting. And obviously that's Paul's influence of pulling Ed Ruscha in to do this cover. The last video I did was on the Rolling Stones new release. So it comes down to the Beatles and Stones. And there's a Bob Dylan Budokan album coming out, a big package there too. So it's funny. I mean, Beatles, Stones, Dylan. But here you go. This is what we're going to get. This is one version we're going to get. The box, expanded red and blue, to 3 LPs each in a box, and obviously various color formats, various versions, various things that are going to drive you crazy to make a decision. And as soon as this, the actual promo drops, the actual announcement drops, I'm up early waiting this morning at 6 a.m. Pacific time. Then I will post that here. It's basically going to be in this video. So whenever you watch it, you know, this is sort of the lead-in. This is this is going to drive people crazy. And people are already going crazy. They're complaining about everything. And then they love everything. That's just the usual that's like Beatle fans. It's like Dylan fans. It's like Springsteen fans. It's like fanatics of any genre, any artist, any music have these things that go on. And I'm really milking it, aren't I? But it's a little fun. Let's have a little fun. Let's enjoy it. Now, by the time this video is up, you're already going to know if you're going to go directly to it. So, you know, yes, this is actually an art project in Seattle. So, the Weirdo Project or something like I forgot it's called, photographers. I digress. The countdown clock continues. The cassette, I don't know if it's actually going to the end. Do you think the cassette will be at the end when this announcement drops?
When we lost John, we knew that it was really over.
6 a.m.
to Yoko, and she said, I think I've got a tape of John.
Paul called me up and said he'd like to work on Now and Then. He put the bass on, I put the drums on.
It's the last song that my dad and Paul and George and Ringo will get to make together.
How lucky was I to have those men in my life?
Here we go. More color formats. A 12-inch black. The red one, 3 LPs. It's a 3 LP set. The original was a 2 LP. These are all the remixes. Remember, these are all the remixes. So if you have originals, they will be different. And of course, the biggest box set of them all are all 6 of the red and blue collection. Now and Then is the final track on the 67 to 70, even though it's not from 1970. You can get a colored red and blue version, also a black version. There's the cash grab. I think it's fun, you know. I think it's great. And if you already have these records, so be it. These are all new mixes. It'd be interesting to hear the then and now. It looks like I haven't heard that yet. Has that dropped? Stand by. Mazzy loves you.